Well, I want to welcome you to this design session and welcome you to my home. I'm Rebecca Robeson and today's session is on art. I'm going to talk to you about art in your home and what a difference it can make. Today we're going to go with art that focuses on wall art, okay? Things that you put on the wall, usually they're just one or two dimensional. It would include paintings, posters, prints, tapestries. And in the next session that we do on art, we're going to talk about three-dimensional art and how it can add depth to your room. We'll talk about mirrors, and we'll talk about things that you can hang on the wall, everything from a window to maybe a piece of ironwork or a room divider screen. So that'll be a fun one as well. But today we're just going to talk about the actual paintings and pieces, what we traditionally think of as artwork. All right? So one of the things that I do with my own art is I mix and I match price points. I'm actually working on a couple of multi-million-dollar homes right now. And yes, we have some original art pieces, but we've also bought a lot of posters and things I can buy online. And then in the rooms that are less important, like a laundry room or a bathroom or a kid's room, we're using pieces that don't cost as much. One of the things I like about that is I find that when I spend a lot of money on something, I sort of feel like I'm going to have it forever. So if you mix and match, in other words, when you buy an original piece of art, like I bought this last year, and it was actually a slightly different color. If you saw my Christmas video of my home tour, you saw this when it was very charcoal, gray, white, and silver, a little bit of gold in there too. This year I added some of this kind of, what do you call it, millennial pink, which is sort of a peachy pink color, to go with my decor for spring. This piece is an expensive original oil painting. Now, at the same time, I have pieces all throughout my house that I bought at Bed Bath & Beyond, Target, even IKEA. But if you do it right, with the right colors, the right placement, the right framing, all the things I'm going to teach you today, you'll find that it doesn't really matter how much you spend on art. It's what you do with the money you spend on art. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. So when I buy an original piece, for example, this piece right here, this is something I'm probably going to have for a long time, but because I love it, I'm okay with that. I also have discovered there's a way to make my original art have a little bit more longevity and some versatility. I actually had this millennial pink, which is kind of a soft, fleshy pink, kind of a peachy pink color, added to this band of color in the middle. That allowed me to change my art up for the spring. I actually took this back to Liz and had her add the color. Also, I like to change my art up for the holidays. You've seen me put my Christmas tree made out of the old mirror, the broken mirror glass. That looks amazing there. I look at artwork as the jewelry it's like an accessory, like if I was getting dressed, right? Oh, my earrings. Somebody get me my earrings. Wait till you see this. Is perfect. Dorian, can you get me my earrings over there? Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I forgot to put my earrings on. Wait till you see. I'm going to make my point right now. So, imagine this outfit as it is. It's, you know, white shirt, black jeans, black shoes, but look at this. You put on these Oscar de la Renta earrings. Oh yeah. Does that not just make, that was such good timing. I couldn't have even thought that through, you guys. That just makes, in my opinion, such a difference in my overall sophisticated look, kind of casual, but kind of stylish, right? Well, that's what artwork does for your home. It brings in color. It brings in texture. It's also the perfect place to add personality, your family heirlooms or history, the things that you're sentimental about. But also with artwork, I often start with an art piece. If I see an art piece that I love, I will purchase it and I will do the room around it. You know why? It's kind of the same principle as paint. Paint is like the last thing I purchase, right? Because it's the easiest thing to get just exactly the right shade. But what's more difficult? It's difficult to find a fabric, like a printed fabric that I absolutely love. It's more difficult to find an area rug that I think is fabulous. And it's a lot more difficult to find a piece of art that I love. So if you start with art, You can do a lot of things. Remember last time I told you in the design sessions that I often use art as a springboard for all of my other colors. It might determine the pillows that go on the sofa. It might even determine the neutral shade that I select for the sofa or the sofa itself. It'll also tell me what colors to use for window treatments. In this guest room, I started with this theme of this idea in my mind of using birds in the room. Now, some people love birds, some people don't. These people did, I was glad. The birds have this beautiful neutral background, but there's also this amazing shade of coral. So from these pieces of art in this room, I ended up using coral velvet window treatments. Even the basic shade of the bedding itself all came from that painting. So it's a great way to start you on your journey, and it really helps you in making all the decisions that you need to make. So artwork is a perfect thing to add into your home. It will complete your room, and it will make it look homey and very, very personal. Oh, yeah. Another thing I love about art done properly is it can evoke an emotion. Even in something as simple as a kid's bedroom. Take a look at this little girl's room that we did. The colors in there were amazing, that's for sure, and I got a lot of my cues from fabric. But this piece of art over her bed absolutely completed this room. And it's a poster painting. I mean, it was probably, I don't know, $400 or something. But it's the right size, the right orientation, and the subject matter and colors are perfect. It has texture, and you know what it does? It has like this explosion. And take a look at the top left of that picture. What do you see? A beautiful light fixture that also has an explosion effect. Do you see how the theme is all tied in together and completed by that piece of artwork? Let's get real, guys. Let's talk about common mistakes. I have pictures of clients' homes. A lot of them are before pictures. I don't think they'd mind if I'd show you. Obviously, they knew it wasn't good or they wouldn't have hired me in the first place, right? Take a look at this picture where it's the top of a staircase, and there's a piece of art in that little kind of vestibule area, but then there's actually a piece of art that seems to straddle between the stairwell that goes down and the upstairs part. It's like neither in the stairwell or in the entry, it's just kind of in no man's land. And what about the randomly placed pieces of art? You may have two pieces of art in a room. They're just in the most awkward locations. There's no connection between them. They do nothing for the room itself. And even the subject matter doesn't have any connection. Just random locations, random placement. Another thing is art that's too high. A lot of people put their art way too high. And many of you probably know the rule, at eye level, right? The eye level rule. Do you know that there is no such thing as eye level rule? Do you know why? Because I am 5'4" and you could be 5'10" or 6'4". So my eye level and your eye level are two very different things. By the way, just a little hint, always hang art with a friend or a spouse or a neighbor or even someone you don't like, as long as they're nice enough to help you. Always hang out with a friend. Why? Because you need to stand back and look at it. You need to get a perspective. So it's very hard to hang art by yourself. I used to do it by myself, and I didn't even use a hammer. I would take the heel of my shoe, I would take my shoe off, and I would hammer the nail with the heel of my mother always did that, and it seemed to work. Awkward subject matter. You know what I'm talking about with that? I think nudes are great if you're into that, if you want to do that. Personally, I would try to get nudes that are actually painted by somebody, not a nude of you. Talk about awkward. Personally, I think it's time to put your large wedding portrait away. I know, I have so many people agree with me on this, but every once in a while I'll run into someone who's super offended that I say that. But I personally just think it's weird. If you've been married 20 years and you've got this large portrait of you in your wedding dress on your wall. Personally, I mean, if you've got it and you love it, keep it. But for me, I would not do that. And I talk all my clients out of it if they want to do it. Either that or they don't hire me. And that has happened. I find, and I think it's really in good taste to have photographs of other people, your friends, your children, your relatives, but a lot of photos of you is just too much. That's what Facebook's for. Absolutely. I also find that people make a common mistake of using mix-matched frames in the same room. I'm not saying every frame needs to be the same. They can be similar in color, but the more you have different frames all throughout, the more just kind of busy it gets. So just think about the room, what you do in it, and how you and your guests would feel in that room when you're selecting your actual art pieces. I would love for you, if you're serious about your art and you want to make a difference, if you want to walk into your house and have it look different than these common mistake photos I've been showing you, you want your house to be a wow, start by going through every room in your home and taking all of your artwork off the wall. I want you to get a fresh perspective of your rooms, of your decor, and your design, and I want you to think it through based on the things that I'm going to teach you today. So take everything down, lay it out in one room, and get real. So take all your artwork off. Your husband's going to say, or maybe your wife, you could be a man or a woman, someone's going to look at you and go, "Are you crazy?" And you're going to say, "Nope, I'm inspired and I'm motivated." So one of my little tricks in getting the art to fit my space but still stay on a low budget is to buy pieces. These I think were from Bed Bath & Beyond or Linens and Things, something like that. They're probably like $49 or $59 or $69 a piece, and I've had them for a long time. But there's a lot of versatility when you start doing groupings. I typically don't take any of my artwork any lower than 36 inches off the floor. There are rare instances where we have something a little more contemporary where you can go below, but in a transitional or a traditional home, typically not below 36 inches. I believe this starts at 38. And I measured my wall. So what did that do? If this was my 36 inches in that, what I had available was a square. But I didn't have a simple, straight, square piece of art that I wanted to use here. I thought, you know what? I'm gonna break this up. Here's what makes groupings successful. When the frames are the same, the subject matter is similar, and the colors of the finishes are the same. So if you're looking for something consistent like this, same size, same subject matter, same color of the finish and all that, it's a no-brainer, it's so easy. But when you hang these, you're gonna wanna hang this. This is like 2 1/4 inches apart. The rule of thumb for me, at least how I typically do it, is anywhere between 1.5 inches to 3 inches of separation between. Just remember, this spacing here should be the same as this spacing here. I typically do art on 2 of my 4 walls. Now, little secret about this. Did you know that you can actually have a canvas cut down to the size you want it to be? This canvas I purchased, and when I did, I had another intention in mind for it. So I took this piece, it was a 54 by 54, I had it cut down to this size, which I believe is a 42 by 35, something like that. And here's the thing, what are you gonna do it to? Are you gonna make it the width of your mantle? I don't think so. You want to bring it in just a little bit. And so what I did was I made sure that the line of that painting pretty much matched up with the opening here to the fireplace. So you have the opening, the mantle, and the painting. Notice this doesn't have a frame on it at all. So yes, you can mix unframed art with framed art. I wouldn't necessarily put them next to each other, but separated by 5 or 6 feet, it works just fine. It's also a great way to save money. Just remember, if you're gonna do an unframed piece, it's a more of a modern or contemporary look, and you definitely wanna have your canvas be at least 2 inches thick, and you want your canvas to wrap around the sides. Sometimes we paint the side a black or a brown, but if the image itself just wraps around the side, it's a nice, clean, modern look. Even in a place like your laundry room, this is my laundry room and I have 3 pieces. It's a grouping of 3 small pieces of art, all matted in white, similar subject matter, and with a silver frame. Do you see the consistency? Now in this case, I actually have these at 4 inches apart. So it depends on the look that you're going with. It's usually the 1.5 to 3 most of the time. In this case, I did 4. Why? Because I wanted it to go a little bit wider. So look what I have here. Even though this is a, would have been a nice big square space, I used up part of the space for a clock. And then this amazing, I love this faucet, this industrial faucet, it actually comes up to here. So I wanted to clear that. What did that give me left? A very long, horizontal, skinny, short space, right? So by putting 3 pieces in a row, I was able to create my horizontal art without having to go out and buy something that was so expensive. These are from IKEA. I'm telling you, it can all be done on a budget if you really wanted to. Let me give you a rule of thumb. It's not always 100%, but just keep this in mind and it might help you. If you have a wall that's less than 36 inches wide, avoid putting any art on it whatsoever. 36 inches wide or less, no art. In fact, it's a really smart idea to create some no art zones. Leave some open space so that the places where you do put art are fabulous. And it creates an emotion and a feeling, and it absolutely completes a room, but doesn't overwhelm you and exhaust you at the same time. Don't use too much art. Even in a place like a powder room, here's my powder room. I've actually had a bunch of different pieces of art, including Christmas things here at times. This year, when I went with my color scheme of a lot of white, gray, and gold, I decided to put this piece in here, and it is a bronze piece. It's also by Liz Jardin. Isn't she good? This is actually really good for you to see. On the side, here, can you look in the mirror? The side, it's painted like a silver pewter color. So in this case, the image didn't wrap. We just painted this side a solid color. An oversized piece of art. When you're just gonna do one piece and you wanna make a statement, notice there is no other art in here. I guess this could be considered sort of a sculptural art piece, but it's a light, right? And in case you're wondering, yes, I did plan that. In my powder room, which you can see at the same time you see my dining room wall, what do you see? Bronze painting, maybe some gray and sort of charcoal metallic branches from a tree that a leaf would come on and go with the textured wall over here that actual leaves are sitting on. Here's another application for doing the groupings. These are also canvases that are not framed individually, they're just by themselves, and the spacing in between there is 1.5 inches between them. There's 6 altogether, and there's actually a pattern here. This could be run vertically or horizontally. I have used these pieces of art over and over again. In fact, they're hanging in my office right now. In this house, we had a client who did her own artwork. So I got some of the little paintings, they're all watercolors. I got them from her and I took them to my framer. I chose a very, very thin black metal frame. I had them matted and boxed in white, and then did an interesting pattern around, even changing up the weighting of the different, look at how this one's weighted on the bottom, this one's weighted on the top. We have the same kind of look here. In this hallway to a woman's office, this is one of my favorite projects ever. The ceiling in the hallway was wood paneled. It was so beautiful, and I actually designed these light fixtures. They were amazing. But anyway, back to the art. We did, in this long hallway, we did a really tall, oversized piece. It's perfect in something like this, but instead of doing 2, which I had room for, I only did 1. And the reason for that is I wanted to bring my art over here as well. Had I done another piece, can you imagine how busy that would be? And then I absolutely love this weather clock, which we hung next to the 2 pieces of art. It just pulled it all together. Maybe you're not even thinking about the colors of your room, or maybe your room isn't pulled together enough to actually even have a color scheme, and that's a good reason to do art. But make sure that you're kind of, I don't think that, if I owned a Picasso, would I do my home in those exact colors? I probably would, because I'm like that. But a lot of people feel like art is art and it doesn't need to match your decor, and let them think that. I'm just telling you, my experience is when the art is beautifully connected to the design of the room, it's just a peaceful wow first impression. Can anyone tell me why this is like my favorite thing? Well, I'll tell you. It's all about symmetry. The white sofa with the piece of art in the center that's very, very contemporary, has a lot of white in the background. It's got a picture light on the actual frame. You can kind of see that with a thin frame around it. They have 2 mirrors on either side of these cases that we have, you know, the white books in. And then this beautiful coffee table in the middle that pulls the color and the stain of those bookcases right back to the center. But to me, that piece of art, you take your fingers and you cover that up, without that piece of art there, it's still a beautiful room, but boy, does that finish it off. And guess what, guys? It doesn't have to have color. My second favorite is this look. And I've had this in my files for a while. I just love this. But look at it, it's on white walls, or white paneling actually. And then around it, they did framed pieces of art. If I was gonna do something like this, I'd probably buy an art book and cut the pages, which of course always makes me the most popular girl in the class when I start cutting pages out of books. But yeah, I would cut those out and then have them triple matted so that there's the dark charcoal around the actual tiny piece. But you can see how wide that matting is. The matting's actually wider than the piece of art itself. All right, so now we're gonna do a demonstration on how to hang art. Let's talk first about the kind of things that you use to hang your art. My hanger of choice is this. This one holds, I think, 5 pounds. So this one with the 3 is has the most weight. And then there's also smaller ones, and that can hold like half of a pound, okay? It's a drop ceiling, so it's 6'6" tall available and 8 feet wide. So that tells us that we're more horizontal than we are vertical. Now again, put your art up with a friend and you'll have fewer holes to have to worry about. I like to find my center point. I don't always do my center point from the wall to the wall. Sometimes, like let's say there's a cabinet on the wall, like a kitchen cabinet. So I'm looking at what my visual line of sight is. Now, here's what I'm looking at is, see this line right here? And from that visual line, I find my center point there. Then you put your piece of art down, you turn it on the back. If it has a wire, then you're gonna take that piece of wire and then you go like this to how tall is it from where that wire is to the top of the frame. Now you know that if it's 6 inches, you measure from your pencil mark from here down 6 inches. Ta-da! After you get it up, you use a level to make sure that it is completely level. We ended up with 2 1/4 inches in between. The space on top is 9.5. This is 14.5. Oh, it should be the same, huh? Because I measured it. 14.5. It's in the center. I want you to see what this looks like with 3 pieces and 4 pieces, because remember, we're deciding what we're going to do at your house. We're going to start by laying these out on the floor in our area that we want, and we're going to decide. Now these are much smaller, so I don't know if they're going to be as impressive. Why don't you pick one up and let's see what it looks like. Okay. So our height here is 11.5 inches. All right, so in this case, see, this is one of those kind of hooks that would do well with that nail that had the bigger head. If you need something that has a larger head, these nails are great to use because that will keep things from slipping off of the hanger. See this? Because it goes on here and it stays, it won't fall off. So you kind of have to look at your actual art piece to determine what kind of hook you're going to use. Let's do 3.5 inches. This level has a magnet in it, so when you're doing metal frames, bam. And you use this. This is like the golden ticket. This is, now I called it sticky tack, but this is by Scotch, and what it is it's this little like rubberized putty ball adhesive stuff that will not ruin your paint job. And sometimes you see it in blue, sometimes yellow. I don't know why it comes in different colors, but I like this in the white. This stuff kind of creates some traction, because look how easily these slide. I mean, just the slightest bit of movement and atmosphere, and these things are all going to be crooked. So if you push it in, you get it warm in your fingers and you push it into the frame itself. There. Look. See how that doesn't move? Where you do this and it it swings. Okay, so what do you think of these? They're smaller scaled, but do you see how we created a horizontal venue out of them? I personally think they're a little small for this space, but I do want you to weigh in and tell me what you think. One other issue, they have a frosted kind of glass. It's a non-glare glass on it, and the funny thing is, it actually is very glaring. Because I have natural light that comes from my front door, there's glass in it, it hits these, and from certain areas over there, you actually can't see the art itself. And this is using 4 pieces. These are the ones that were hanging in my dining room. So Pooja, do you want to hang one? I think this is going to be our issue. We either have to have them all 4 in a row, which is possible, or we can do 2 and 2. This is going to be an issue, I think, because if I put this one as low as I can, like there isn't room for the second one on top. Can you try that, Pooja? Yeah, see, it won't fit. That means that all 4 of these would have to go in a row. Let's lay them out on the floor and see if they're going to fit. That would definitely fit. It's going to be very linear. Let's see what the overall measurement's going to be. 79, and come up to the top. Go from the edge, yeah, 79, 103. So that gives us 24-inch space on either side, which is pretty good. You take 2 and I'll take 2 from the bottom.
It's my arm workout for the day.
Come this way. Pooja, bend your head down.
Hold all 4. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, do that. Can you see what that looks like? Whoops. Ugh. Okay, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down and let us know. It's not worth putting the holes in the wall, because I can tell you right now, I'm not putting those back up for reals. But that gives you an idea of how you can determine. It's just a matter of you either can fit it or you can't. There's a reason. There's a switch or there's a door. How much space you have. Now we could have done, Pooja, let's do 3. We could have done 3. And that probably would look nice. Like that. What do you guys think? For a more traditional home, that might be a good option for you. But for my home, I think I'm going back to the black and whites. So, was that a helpful exercise? I hope you appreciate the Swiss cheese I made out of my wall. Don't worry, I'll fix that. Not a problem. But it was kind of interesting, wasn't it, to see what the challenges are on a wall and why you would do what you would do, and I hope that's really helpful. There's another thing I want to address. Actually, there's another thing I want to address. I went into the restroom and I saw myself, and ever since I put my earrings on, can I just say this necklace with these earrings is just too much. Someone should have told me. Rebecca, either the necklace or the earrings, but both are too much. And you know what? That's a really good point about artwork. Sometimes we all just have too much and we need to edit, take something away. Now, what do you think? Just my blouse, nothing for a necklace, and just my earrings. Yep, I like that. What do you think? The trending thing, let's take a look at that picture again, is to do a collage gallery wall made up of all different kinds of things. And I know that some of my viewers, and in fact some of my employees, are young people. They've just moved out for the first time in their life, or maybe the second time. They don't have money to go out and buy new art pieces. They maybe have a few things they've collected, or someone's given them, or maybe some artwork they've done themselves, or maybe some photographs, some selfies, or places that they've been and it really means something to them, matters to them. So they like to do this look. I like it, I think it looks cool. It's not as easy as it looks, because the more different frames that you add into there, the more busy it's gonna get. I think in this one they use some black frames, they use a lot of white, or kind of a whitewashed, and maybe a gray one in there. There's ovals, there's all different shapes, all different orientations. Honestly, I used to do that kind of thing back in the 70s. We are kind of having a return to the 70s, aren't we, guys? You can accomplish that look. It's actually difficult to do well, but here are my best advice pieces. Number one, measure your wall space, and then create a template on the floor of your room, or wherever space you're gonna put this in. Once you get your frames down on the floor the way you like them, you can outline them with a pencil or with whatever you want to, and kind of lay it out. Then you can take that piece of paper and stick it on the wall. Once you get it on the wall, you can put your nails in exactly where they're gonna go, then you just pull the paper down. That works, but just remember, you have to pay attention. You have to look at the backs of every one of those pieces of art and find out how many inches down either the piece of wire is, or the opening for, you know, how is it hung. So if you've got all of these frames and you're just putting a nail at the top of each outline, that's not going to be correct. Remember to pay attention. I also think it's a good idea to take a piece of tape and write on the back of each frame, like maybe on your floor where you've laid it out, say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then put a piece of tape on the exact photo, because once you get that up like this, you may not remember what's what. So you want to identify them with what you laid out on the floor. Hopefully that's helpful, and if you guys come up with some great designs by doing that, send me some pictures. I'd love to see them. Hello, what about the crooked pieces of art? Have you ever been at a friend's house? Well, okay, I'll just give you my own experience. I've been places, churches, office buildings. I was at my lawyer's office working on our will. I said, do you mind if I get up for just a second? I felt really bad about it, but I actually walked around behind her and straightened her piece of art. I couldn't even look at her. It was really crooked. So take a look now at some more grouping ideas of homes that I've done, clients' photos from years past. You can get all kinds of ideas of ways you can create horizontal and vertical spaces by using multiple pieces. Now let's finish up with my favorite grouping in my house, and it's kind of a funny story. This is the perfect example of how you can get, well, let me ask you. This is my master bedroom, and I have 10 pieces of art here, all framed the same, matted the same. The subject matter is very similar in each one of them, very architectural. When we bought this house, I actually did this like 15 years ago. I wanted something, now look at the space. I have these two walls and then this, thing that goes over the top. But this is a high ceiling, actually, for my house. It was relatively high. The space here was messed up by light switch. Reality. So I could not put what I would normally think to maybe put here, something vertical that kind of came up to the height of this opening on either side and kind of flanked this and sort of made a nice thing. I might have even done something over the top. But then over there, look, I'm also faced with a AC unit vent. So again, we paint those out so they go away as much as possible. But back to this wall, here's what I decided to do. I decided to go and buy frames at Aaron Brothers. Now, if you're not from the US or even other places in the US than California, I don't know if you've ever heard of Aaron Brothers, but back in the day, they used to have a sale. It was called the 1 cent sale, twice a year. And you could buy a frame and get a second one for a penny. Yep. So essentially, I got all 10 of these frames for the price of 5 plus 5 cents. And I believe the price of these frames was either $29 or $39. Let's just go high. Let's say it was $39. Essentially, I got these for 20 bucks a piece, and there's 10 of them for $200. I completely decorated these two walls here in my room, created an architectural feeling. The funniest part of the story is the pictures that are in here, these are the pictures that came with the frames. Yeah, so I didn't even change the pictures. I always intended to, but they kind of went up on the wall and they kind of stuck. Now let's talk about family photos. You know, when it comes to photos of family and people, I'm one that likes photographs that are in tabletop frames as opposed to on the wall. I like to move them around, I like to group them, and I really like to change them as my grandchildren get older, my kids do something fun and special. I have a lot to say about family photo gallery walls. I've never had one, and I don't think I ever will. It's just not my bag, but I have done them many times for clients. Here's some things to remember when it comes to a gallery wall of family photos. I would choose either all black and white or all color. Where we have all these, big frames that we've clumped these things together, and I have a lot of smaller frames, so I'm gonna take these apart and not use every single picture in this haul, but use some of them. Create a nice pattern so that it has a flow to it and it looks good. I also feel very strongly about having frames that they don't all have to match. This is very matchy, right? But I wouldn't do a photo gallery this way anyway. It would be more different shapes and sizes. But if they can have a consistency in the frames, sometimes I pick 2 different styles, sometimes 3, sometimes 1. I like to have the matting be the same, either at least in the same color, or colors, light shades, so that it's not something that you have to, emotionally and mentally sort out to make it feel comfortable. But I think the most important thing about family photo gallery walls is they are most appreciated when you can see them from a distance. This must be communion. This must be when they joined the Navy. I was in a friend's house once and she had an unusually narrow hallway. I have never seen so many photos, family photos, in my life. Every wall was packed. I would recommend that you put your photos not on a skinny hallway, because let me tell you why. When you have it in a narrow space, the only way you can look at those pictures is to walk like this. Oh, look at that time we went to Niagara Falls. Oh, and there's Johnny. That is not comfortable. And how many people are gonna stand there and look at those pictures? You'd have to be up right on top of it, so in your face to see those, because you can't get back far enough, right? Just like if this was in a tight hallway, I would not appreciate this, but it's not. You can stand all the way across on the other side of this room and appreciate this art. Another one we did was, actually this was quite a few years ago, where I do take, some vertical, some horizontal. I even have, you'll notice in there, some oval shapes that I added to it as well, and did a much more traditional look on a family photo gallery at the top of the stairs. Again, top of the stairs so you can see it without having to be right on top of it. I find that it works best if you can have a space, for example, if I was to do one in my hallway, this wall would be the wall that I would use. Now, it's not a very big wall, so I wouldn't be able to do a whole lot, but I would place my pieces on either side. I'd probably go almost all the way, and I would pick narrow, thin frames, a low profile frame, because again, it's not about the frame, it's about the people in the pictures. You'll see here that we've done the family photo gallery in a hallway adjacent to the stairwell. And in this case, we took the client's photos, they had them in color, and we had them changed to black and white. The reason it works so well is because you can not only walk alongside the wall and take a look at those photos, but you can also stand back and appreciate them as well. So I created a pattern out of the frames. They're low profile frames, 2 different styles that coordinate with each other. It starts with a monogram in the center of the client's last name, and then from the left to the right, the photos spread out in a repeated pattern that's mirrored. Usually I end up taking clients from a sort of a whole lot of different photos of the family over the years, which is great, in all kinds of frames. And it's a little bit overwhelming when you have so many different frames, because what it does is your eye goes to the frame types and all those shapes more than it goes to the photographs themselves, which is the point of having the gallery. But I personally don't like to mix black and white with color. It's your personal taste. If you like that, then go ahead and do it. But I think finding some consistency with the framing and or the matting or the subject matter being all in one color, I think that's really helpful for a photo gallery wall. In this photo gallery wall, you'll see that we had a smaller space to work with, and so we kind of did more of a free form shape. So it's not rectangular, it's very kind of free flowing, but again, has a repetitive pattern that's interesting to look at in and of itself. I know that when our clients saw it, they absolutely cried. They loved it so much. So you can see how the frames, creating that consistency, can create, take away the chaos and create order and really be beautiful as well. I find that lifestyle photos, if you're going to do photos of people, they tend to be more interesting and people will actually look at them more than they will a 8x10, school picture, for example. People like to see you when you were on your ski trip, when you were on a trip to Italy, when you were, boating in the lake nearby. Just kind of things that evoke an emotion and that make you go, oh, I remember the time we did this and that. Final words on a family photo gallery: less is best. You don't have to have every single picture of every single child over and over and over again. And you don't need to make sure that if you have 6 of Johnny, you need to have 6 of April. Just saying. Just pull back. It's just like what I did with my necklace. I took my necklace off so that my earrings could shine. I find that if people take all these photos they have and they just want to show all of them, very few people will stop and look at all those photos as much as they will when they're concise, clean, and you pick the ones that are really special. Just remember my little rule: have less pictures of yourself, more pictures of the people that you love. I think that sets a good message throughout your home. And don't forget, use the sticky tack on each one of these photos. Again, it will be far more appealing to the eye and look beautiful in your hallway and stay in place if you use that stuff. But let's just say that you live in a dorm room and you can't put nails in your wall. Well, these command hooks are amazing and they come in lots of different sizes. We use these throughout my daughter's entire college education and all her dorm rooms, so we didn't get in trouble for putting things in the walls. Common mistake is the wrong orientation. You may have a piece of art that's too small or a piece that's too big. It may be that you've got a skinny wall and you've put a nice big horizontal piece of art there that has hardly any wall space on the left and the right and a ton of wall space from top to bottom. That is a huge mistake I see people do all the time. Let's see if we have some questions and answers that I can go over with you.
Okay, so our first question is from Christine Elders. She says, I love the look of unframed canvas, but when I put it on my wall, it feels unfinished and odd, like it needs accessorizing. Am I just not choosing the right size?
Christine, right? Christine, it's hard for me to say. I'm not looking at a picture. If I saw a picture of it, I could tell you immediately. But I can tell you that when I brought this unframed canvas in here and I put it on this wall, I thought it looked really unfinished and dull and boring. And my problem was, it is a perfect size canvas as far as height's concerned, but it's not really wide. And my wall is wide. So what I did was I filled in by doing a few things. I painted the wall behind it a rich color, and I think that made all the difference in the world. But it still needed more. So I bought these 2 floor lamps to flank either side. And so even though the art piece is like this, the lamps are like this, so the overall impression of what you're getting on this wall feels right, feels good, and it feels significant. So my guess is you either don't have the right size, you need an accent wall, or you do need to add some accessories.
Okay, next question is from Sandy. She wants to know, frames or no frames on large canvas art?
Is this Sandy Renshaw?
Yes.
Ah, hey Sandy, good to see you, girl. Okay, so I'm thinking you're talking about maybe like the pieces in your living room, right, that you recently painted. I would say something like that. If it's contemporary art, a lot of times we don't do frames. This doesn't have a frame on it. And like I talked about, you can either wrap it with the image going around or do a solid color on the edge. Don't bring it around into the front. Just do the sides, okay? If you do put a frame on it, it can still look contemporary, but it's going to add a lot to the cost. So we do this a lot, and I'm here to tell you, I buy frames sometimes that are $2,000 and $3,000 for the frame. If you're going to have a really large piece, you're kind of better off not framing it unless it's an absolute must. I hope that answer helps.
Okay, so next question from Mylan Scott. They say, while I know that you vary the prices of your artwork, do you do the same with your frames?
Yeah, it kind of is a good segue into what I was just talking about. Absolutely. Now, let me see. When I say I vary, I don't usually buy frames from like you saw it up in my bedroom. I have Aaron Brothers frames, right? So yeah, I guess I do. But if I'm going to have something framed, there is a huge, vast difference between pricing. You can buy frames that are, I don't even know, $50 a square foot or an inch or whatever it is, I don't know. Or you can buy ones that are just a couple of dollars. So yeah, the prices vary. And when I'm trying to save money, I'm either buying something that is already framed, like those 4 pieces in my dining room with the leaves, or I'm doing an unframed canvas piece.
Okay, this one is from Instagram. Their username is Let's Play 923. They say, "Hi Rebecca, I am considering making an art piece for one of our lounge/diner walls. My question is about timing. How long should a piece of art be displayed? Or how often should I change it according to seasons? Should I change it at all?"
That's a good question. 1, 2, 3, something?
Let's play 923.
Ah, well, I was close. Let's play 923. I'm not sure what that means. I'd be interested in knowing. All right, hon. Oh, I forgot what you asked because I was concerned about your name. Okay, wait. You asked about, if you're going to paint a large piece for your lounge area and you're wondering how often you should change it, right? And if you should change it at all or for the seasons. Okay, I don't think there's any answer to that really. If you love change, then change it up as often as you want to. If you're painting it yourself, heck, paint another one next season or next year. I think you change it up as often as you want to. I had a piece in my living room, if you've watched my videos for any period of time, like when I did the home goods video, for example, there was a long horizontal piece here. Do you guys remember that? And it's like a seascape, I think, or a lakescape or something. It's water of some sort, and it's turquoise and stuff. I had that here for a long time until this year when I changed this whole look and color. So that piece went down to my office, so I was able to use it there. That's a great thing, right? Well, just last week, I actually sold that piece to a client. So that piece of art has had a history already, and I paid for it when I bought it, and now it's been purchased, so I got my money back, and someone else is able to love it. So if you're a good artist, you may find that when you want to switch things up or change it for the holidays, you can actually sell your pieces to someone else. Wouldn't that be nice?
Okay, so Alex wants to know, can we combine different art mediums, for example, acrylic, graphics, and photography in a room? Are there any rules about it?
Is it Alex Sully? Nope. Alex, a girl or a guy?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Alex, could go either way. All right. Can you change up your medium? I covered this a lot in today's session. Yes, you can. Just on the other side of this wall, we have now a new guest room. And I had a bunch of artwork that used to be my son's, all in this kind of same color. And I mixed all kinds of things together. Some is acrylic, some is paintings. But it turned out really neat. And it's a great, free flow pattern. So yes, you can mix your mediums. Just be careful in how you do it so that there's some sort of thread that connects. Remember the picture I showed you of what's really trending right now with this very eclectic look? There is a common thread. if you don't take anything else away from today but this, just remember, you have lots of freedom and grace to do what you want, what your taste draws out of you. But try and always to keep a common thread, something that ties it in to another area of your house. So look closely, guys. The common thread here, although the frames and the shapes and the sizes change, the common thread is that the art itself is either all black and white or grayed, or there's like silhouettes that are in the black. There's just this kind of gray, black, white look to everything. And there's one photo that has a couple of balloons on it, and the girl is wearing a soft pink dress. Just a little tiny bit of color. And that is what kind of pulls everything together. Look for the common thread. Is the common thread the color of your frames, or the shape, or the size, or the finish on your frames? Is it the matting that you choose for everything? Is it the type and style of art that you choose? Or is it the color scheme? Common thread.
Okay, so Jude's Awesome from Instagram. They want to know, how do you use art when you don't have walls to hang it on? I have walls of windows 30 feet high that act as a focal point because I lived in a loft.
30-foot high windows. Jude is awesome is the name. What's her name?
Jude's Awesome.
Jude's awesome. Jude, you are awesome, and I would love to see your place. 30-foot tall windows. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? You know, I'm going to address art in other forms other than just painting solid pieces on the wall in an additional design session coming up. I'm not sure the date yet, but that will be coming. I think what you're going to be looking for is mixed medium. Things that you can see through, so that if you put something in front of your window, you don't lose your view, but you enhance it by being able to see through it. So there are art pieces, sculptures, glass pieces, iron pieces. There's just so many things that you could consider using that could act as art, but not obstruct your view. Because I would hate to lose that 30-foot window thing.
Okay, and then we have another question. This one includes a picture, and it's from Matthew. And they want to know, I have a large piece of art in my living room. It worked well when the walls behind and around it were dark, but now that the walls are white, it just seems to die. Should I consider framing the piece or find something else?
Good question. All right, so this piece is a contemporary canvas piece. I would not frame it. I do think, however, that it is hung too high. It looks like what Matthew did was he chose to place it dead center between his available space at the top of the sofa and the bottom of the crown molding. So he has even amount of space on the top and bottom. I think that that piece should either be dropped or even turned vertical to fill that. Now, it's a lot of horizontal space, but what he needs, I look at this and I think, yeah, your walls are kind of a creamy, buttery color. I think you should go back to having a dark colored wall like I have here. I think the difference between what this looks like here with this wall and what it would look like if that was a rich, deep color is night and day. It's really kind of lost its pizzazz. So I would definitely paint that wall darker there. And I also think he should do the same kind of thing that I did, which is do 2 lamps on either side, floor lamps. Even if you wanted to do contemporary like arm swing lamps, but they're very contemporary looking, something like that that would give him balance on either side of that sofa and fill in that wall space. It's the same exact thing I did here. If I took these lamps away, you would see how empty this wall looks. This is how much we love you. Take a very good look at what this wall looks like right now. Can you pan up, Dorian, and let him see from the ceiling down? The wall space is fully covered, right? All right, now we're gonna move the lamps and let you see what it looks like. I won't paint the wall back to white though. See what I'm talking about? Does that look totally different? So that should show you a big difference, that without those pieces on the side, it's a rather plain wall. However, way better than when the wall was white. This wall was white before. That white painting went on there, and that's his issue too. His painting has a lot of white in it. So he needs to put a nice rich color as an accent wall Matthew, paint that wall, add some lamps on either side, and you'll be good.
So Jason would like to know, do your reproductions ever look good?
I think that reproductions can look great. I mean, the technology that we have today is incredible, how we can reproduce some kind of, yeah, for sure. I'm all about reproduction. The bigger the family, the better.
Okay, so final question is from Marissa, and she would like to know, do I need special, say, waterproof or steam-proof art for the bathroom?
Here's the deal with paintings. Anything that I would keep out of a bathroom for the sake of mold or any kind of steam would be oil paintings, not so much. You don't want to put those in a wet location. Anything that's got paper, like a watercolor or a pastel, an etching, I wouldn't put that anywhere near water. But here's the good news. Anything that's acrylic, often when you're buying canvas prints at, let's say, Home Goods or Target or any of that, it's all acrylic. And that is 100% waterproof because once it seals, you know, it like cures, it pretty much becomes plastic. So we use those as outdoor art as well. So you're good with that. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has been really, really helpful for you and that you're having a blast. Remember, you have homework. Go and take all of your artwork off of your walls. Do it today. Kind of, you know, purge the things that you love, keep, and the things that you're not crazy about, or maybe they've actually faded in color. Get rid of those, and then consider what you'd want to take to have rematted and reframed. I want you to take before pictures, and I want you to take after pictures and send them to me because I love to see when you take these principles and you actually apply them to your own home. Nothing makes me happier. Remember, if there's anything you've seen that you want to see again, once you have purchased this through the design sessions and you are a member, you can watch this session as many times as you want over and over again. Memorize it, okay? I hope you've gotten a lot out of this. So many different tips, so many things to know. Just remember those top things that are going to rock your world. All right, I will see you guys next month. Bye-bye.